get yourself a good doctor and have them help you through it and lead you through it, you can have this child. Lots of women have babies with diabetes. That's not a killer of the baby. But then you have to live your whole life knowing I've killed my child. And you're planning on having more children, aren't you? Yeah. Then why not have this one? Go get a good doctor. There's a card, that pink card right from Stop It. And where are you from? Okay, on that card, there's a phone number and address down at the bottom for the Manteca Pregnancy Health Center. And you can contact them and say, would you get me in contact with a good doctor that will help me get through this pregnancy? I have diabetes. I need to have it regulated. I need to be saving my baby's life. And they'll put you in contact with a good doctor. They'll help you before and after the baby's born. But don't think that you can justify before God that it's okay for you to abort your baby. Because it's not. It's not okay. So I want to ask you guys, call the Pregnancy Health Center, talk with them about it. Now there's also another one, if you're willing to do it. Lodi has a medical center. The Pregnancy Health Center in Lodi, flip that over on the other side. You see the one for Lodi? If you guys will go to the one in Lodi, those guys have a doctor on call there, and you can sit down with them and say, okay, look, we don't want to have the abortion. How do we regulate the medicine? How do we do all this? And I know you're going to find the answers in one of these two pregnancy health centers. I know you're going to find out it's not going to be that tough. Although it's not going to be, it's not going to be that tough. You can't have it. Okay? I'll give you my phone number when you come out, okay? You guys, and then that one will stay in touch. Make sure the pregnancy health centers help you with everything. Okay? Thank you guys for doing what's right. Okay, this is my home phone number. I live here in Stockton over your UOP. What I want you to do is go home, call the pregnancy health center. It should be in today. Just tell them what your situation is. Tell them, you need a good doctor, and they recommend a real good doctor. I've been doing this 20 years. I've never had a couple ever regret changing their minds. Never. But I've had thousands of them regret going in there. Some taken out of the ambulances and other things. So I've never had someone regret saying, and people in far worse situations you can imagine. And they can come back and say, I'm glad I changed my mind. It'll work out. Take care, guys. I'll give you a call later this evening. All right.
You got to walk them through it. They're sheep. We're sheep. You have to walk them through it. Don't assume people know exactly what to do when they're in a situation like that. My favorite all-time cartoon of all time of my life is a cartoon where there's a whole bunch of sheep grazing in a field, and there's a sheep right in the middle of them, this one sheep, and he's standing up and he's going, "We're not just sheep." And that's the all-time greatest. Realize that these people, all people are sheep. They need to be led. And never assume that, hey, everything's going to be fine. No, you need to show them the right things to do and the right things to follow in order to save their baby and to do the right thing. I had to be led in order for me to wake up to the issue of abortion. My name's Blythe. I live in Stockton, California, but New Mexico has a special place in my heart, and the Indian fried bread has a special place in my belly. I would live in New Mexico if I could eat Indian fried bread all the time. I was traveling for our college when I was about 23 years old. In Southern California, there was a Christian college that needed to be promoted, so they sent my young wife and I out into the western United States, where I went to private Christian high schools and presented our college on video and talked to the students during chapel about attending our college. While I was traveling all through New Mexico, going to Farmington, Gallup, where I discovered Indian fried bread from a little Indian lady. And all through this area, I went up to Santa Fe, where there was a Christian school. This is 33 years ago now. And we had our travel trailer parked next to the church. And that Thursday, I presented the college to the high school department. And then the youth pastor said, hey, tonight we're going to watch a video and then play volleyball. And would you like to come and watch this video? I go, what's the video about? He goes, well, it's about abortion. Some group called Right to Life is sending this video around all the churches, and it's a video called A Matter of Choice. And I said, well, I was familiar with abortion. I listened to Francis Schaeffer and some of the other guys, and so I was familiar with the word and the term, but I wasn't really involved. Our church didn't talk about it. Nobody really talked about it. So I said, sure. So that Thursday evening, there were about 30 of us in this room in the youth department, and he turns on the video, and he had no idea what the video was about. And we watched a video where it was a documentary of a woman who went and actually interviewed both sides of the issue of abortion. And at one point she interviewed Dr. Edward Allred, who was what was called the Ronald McDonald of abortion. He had several abortion clinics from San Diego up to Modesto. In fact, he was famous for saying in a newspaper article, if he had his way, he would stick a free abortion clinic on the Mexican border to make sure no Mexicans come across the border pregnant. And got away with saying that in the LA Times. Or LA Times, one of those newspapers down there. And this Dr. Allred allowed them to come in and film him perform an abortion on a woman. And I'm sitting there looking at this video going, you gotta be kidding me. And I watched this video, and my life was changed that night. Now, the sad part was, at the end of the video, I mean, I'm stunned, I'm shocked. I'd been hit right between the eyes with the reality of abortion, not just words about abortion. I actually got to see the reality. Martin Luther King said, you got to show the ugliness. You can't just say words. And so I was shaken. At the end of the video, the youth pastor actually said to the group, he steps up and he goes, wow, didn't expect that. He goes, well, are we still going to play volleyball? I was falling apart inside. I actually saw and witnessed an abortion being performed. And I was speechless. And so everybody went to play volleyball. I said to the youth pastor, I said, look, man, I got to go back to my travel trailer. I am not feeling good. So I went back to the travel trailer, and my wife, who had not been feeling well, was in the travel trailer, and I went back in. She goes, well, you're back early. She goes, man, what's wrong with your face? Now, I've been told that my whole life, so I don't like it when the first one, and I said, I just have to lay down. I'll talk to you in a minute. She goes, Don, what happened in there? And I said, I'll talk to you later. And I went into the bedroom, and I wept for an hour. Now, for a Baptist, that's pretty good, because Baptists usually don't cry. And I went in and I wept for a whole hour. And the Lord gripped my heart that night. And but we had another year to go to travel for the college. When I was done weeping, I told my wife what had happened, and she goes, wow. And I said, you know, maybe someday I could do something for a living or some kind of ministry where I could use the abortion issue as an issue to share my faith and introduce people to Christ. She goes, yeah, that'd be cool. I go, man, I'll tell you, that was something. I didn't realize in 1981, I didn't realize that was a bad thing until that night. Well, I did what most good Christians do, and unfortunately what some might do here today. I hope no one does this. But I went home and laid down until the feeling went away. And over the next 3 years, the feeling did go away, and I kind of lost the passion and the vision for that. Finished traveling for the college, moved to Northern California, secured a secular job while I knew the Lord wanted me in a ministry, and I knew I needed to be in full-time ministry. And we were in a church. This is about 3.5 years later. I'm in a church, Quail Lakes Baptist Church in Stockton, and the associate pastor says, "Hey, next Sunday we're going to talk about the subject of abortion, and there's a video that's been passed around to all the churches, and we're going to watch that video." So that next Sunday, about this many people in our adult class, we watched the video, A Matter of Choice. And that flame that was inside me had been flickering, turned into a powerhouse flame, and my life was changed again. And he said, "Well, let's see if abortion's a problem in this area." And he said, "But it's time to go to worship service now. You're dismissed." Nobody moved. Everybody just sat there. And the associate pastor said, "You can go now. It's time to go into the worship service." And I'm sitting back there just frozen, and nobody moved. And a lady raised her hand and she goes, "Pastor, you can't watch a video like this and not see if abortion's a problem in Stockton, Sacramento, in this area." And he said, "Well, let's go to a pregnancy help center. They're doing a little informational meeting Tuesday. Anybody want to go?" My hand shot up. And he goes, "Don, there were about 4 of us." And we went to the meeting, and a little Jewish Christian lady at the end of the meeting was in the back while we were having cookies and stuff, and she said, "I'm going to go to the abortion clinic." And I turned and looked at her and I said, "What did you just say?" She goes, "I'm going to the abortion clinic." I said, "Where is there an abortion clinic?" She goes, "Just right down the street from your church." I said, "You're kidding me." She goes, "No." I go, "When are they doing abortions?" She says, "Every Monday and every Thursday." I said, "What time?" She goes, "Noon." I said, "I'll meet you there." We grabbed a bunch of literature from the Pregnancy Help Center, and we took the literature down to this abortion clinic where they were doing 50 abortions a day, 2 days a week. They started at noon and didn't stop till 9 o'clock that night. I started handing out literature to people. We didn't know what to do. We didn't have Jeff White's yet showing us the right way. And Jamie and I just went out and started handing literature out and talking to the students, or the people going in. And within a couple weeks, we get arrested. My first arrest. And then 2 weeks after that, because they didn't know what to do with us, so they just arrested us. And so 2 weeks later, we got protested by the National Organization of Women, I'm sorry. I get that wrong. I'm sorry about that. The National Organization of Women protested us. They actually gathered around us, there were 8 of them, and protested us while we're handing out literature to students. And the television cameras came out, not students, people. And you guys can tell I'm doing the college ministry all the time. And the news cameras came out. We were on TV, we were on radio. I knew then I was exactly where the Lord wanted me. And Jamie Howen, my friend, said to me, "Don, you ought to be doing this full time." I go, "What? That's silly." She goes, "No, you ought to be doing this full time." And over the next 6 months, I eventually surrendered to that call to do this full time. And for 30 years, I've been involved in sidewalk counseling in front of abortion clinics, and speaking and also meeting that challenge. And about 8 years ago, started doing college ministry like what Survivors does. And I joined them first and hooked up with them, and we went out to colleges and started talking to the college students. And I'm hoping to, over these next 3 days and this week that we go out and do activism, I'm hoping that the Lord will get a hold of some of your hearts in a way that He's never done it before. Some of you are already right there. You're already hardcore pro-life Christians, and you're doing the work of the ministry that God would call you to do. But a lot of you aren't. And you got to cross that line and get out of your comfort zone. And you have to say, this is worth it. In fact, there's several things we can't do in heaven, but do you know what one thing we can't do in heaven? Now, it's tough for me to stand behind there the whole time, so I'll talk real loud. What's one thing you can't do in heaven? Yeah, we can't sin. What else can't we do in heaven? Somebody give me an answer. This is where you can participate. Thank you, young lady. You hit it right on the head. Usually we go through about 8 answers before. This is a book called One Heartbeat Away. You can't witness to the lost. You can't talk to people who don't know God because they're not there. They perish. So if you can't talk to people about God who are lost when you're in heaven, don't you think we should be doing it now? God called us to tell the world. He said, proclaim the message. Paul in the Bible, in I think Acts 17, Paul was in a place where the Bible says he was waiting for some of the other disciples to meet him there in Athens. And I'm paraphrasing just a little bit, but he's kind of waiting for him. They didn't have watches then, huh? He looked at the sundial that was on his wrist and said, where are they? And they weren't there. So what did he do? He went down to the mall. All the false gods they had and all the things they were doing. And what did he do? He started challenging them about their false beliefs, didn't he? And he began witnessing to them about the real God and the real Christ. That's what the Bible shows us from Genesis to Revelation. It shows us that God's people went out there and engaged the culture. You can't have an impact without a collision. Okay, you ready? You can't have an impact without a collision. We have to confront. In fact, after Jesus had preached a little while about the kingdom, he told the disciples, he said, okay guys, now it's your turn. I want you to go out and read the passage. Because the disciples went out and went door to door and started talking to people. And they came back and what'd they say to the Lord? Anybody know that passage? What'd they say to the Lord? You guys better read your Bibles. He said, the disciples went, Lord, they don't like us out there. Now, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but if you read it, that's what they said. They said, they don't like us. They hate us. And what did Jesus say? They hate you and they hate me because what I tell them they're doing is evil. That's not the Jesus of the 21st century that we have in America. We think that if we tell people and confront people and challenge them about their evil and they make them mad, oh, that's not what Jesus would do. When we show the graphic pictures on college campuses and out on the street corners, and when we show the reality of the sin of the world to people, what do people do? They get mad. Some get mad and angry. Others repent. And our